Okay, so we're coming up to one of my favorite ones. Is the fifth.
And as I said, the Fourth Amendment's every freshman studying political science's favorite.
This is every stoner who watched Dave Chappelle loves this one.
I was going to say every junior studying political science. I think yours a lot better instead. But,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5th.
So the Fifth Amendment really is a combination of a bunch of different legal documents, whether it's the English Bill of Rights, whether it's the Declaration of Rights from Virginia, the Magna Carta, Chapter 39 of the Magna Carta, basically proclaimed that no free man could be punished except by the lawful judgment of his peers or by the law of the land. And that phrasing is actually where a lot of legal scholars say the term due process of law comes from. And I think it's kind of cool. But it's not. Everybody's like, I plead the fifth. Like, I plead the fifth, I plead the fifth. Pleading the fifth actually is like this broad spectrum of stuff. So the Fifth Amendment is your right to due process. You do not have to self-incriminate. That's the right to remain silent. No double jeopardy. And the right to a grand jury. And here's a big one here. Takings. That's just something that never gets talked about here. But the rule of just compensation for taking property. Eminent domain is part of the Fifth Amendment.
Oh, wow. So how come, you said this one never gained much popularity?
This is considered the Fifth Amendment is generally considered the most uncontroversial amendment, which inherently means that, and this sounds weird, and it's kind of, you're right saying that. So it was never popular. There's never a fervor for it.
Oh, it's just something that kind of needed to be... Because I was looking at this thinking, like, this is probably the most tricky one because it's got the most words. Like, it looks like they had a really hard time, like, kind of simplify this one as much as, like, some of the other ones. Like, the right to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. Boom, done. No, this one's got... quite a bit of stuff trying to cram it into one giant run-on sentence.
Should I try and read it as one giant run-on sentence? Oh my God,
is it one giant run-on sentence?
It is a giant run-on sentence.
I said that without reading it. I was like, man, I should double check that.
Should we see if I can do it like the end of a end of a pharmaceutical commercial?
Can you do it in one breath?
Let's see. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on apportionment of indictment of a grand jury except causing an arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in a time of war and public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of the life and limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor deprived of life, liberty, or the property without due process, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
Let me give this a try. No person shall be held to answer for capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment on a grand jury, except in cases arising in land or naval forces or in the militia when actual service, time of war, or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. What happened?
You did it like the soft voice at the end of it. I love it. That's awesome. So, part of the reason this was so uncontroversial is that everything stated in here was already generally accepted. Like, it was already part of common law.
Well, it's probably one of those, like, why do you have to write this down? Like, we got to know this.
That is how... There are some people who actually said that. Like, why do we have to have this written down?
You have to write down everything. You need to write this down.
Exactly. I mean, even the concept of the taking clause, which is that, shall private property shall not be taken without just compensation. People were like, "Yeah, no crap. Why would you write that? Why'd you have to write that down?" It's like because
Jackson's coming down the line here in a little bit, and like things are going to change.
But yeah, it is an interesting. It does have an interesting history because it's so uncontroversial. And it really comes back to the Massachusetts Body of Liberties, which was written in 1641. So we tend to think of revolutionary history as all one period. This was written the same distance between the Bill of Rights and World War I as the Bill of Rights and the Massachusetts Body of Liberties. Remember,
this is closer to the Salem witch trials and the actual.
This is like Salem witch trials were going on.
Yeah.
When were the Salem?
I think they might have been right around then. Maybe a little bit before that.
They were 50 years afterwards.
Oh my God.
All right, so this is old, dude. This is old, man.
That's like loss of Jamestown.
Yeah. So like, this was, and Massachusetts was one of like the first, it was the first non-just commercial colony in the United States. This idea of like a commercial colony is going to be focused on commerce, right? Where this is a new political body, and so Massachusetts, the Massachusetts Body of Liberties, written in 1641, already outlined the vast majority of this. In states, every state subsequently, every colony subsequently, just kind of adopted it. So by the time it made it to ratifying the Constitution, everybody's like, "Well, we already have this as state." And they're like, "Well, we're going to require the federal to follow these same laws."
Just in case, let's put this in here. This might come in handy later.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of it.
Thank you, guys.